Raider Nation, what's going on? Good morning. It's Sunday. You're watching the Raiders Report here with Mitchell Renz, and I got some news that I want to discuss here, even though I'm not at the studio hanging out with Chugs. Anytime that there is breaking Raiders news, we got you covered here, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn on those notifications. According to ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler, he says multiple sources are optimistic that quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo will pass today's physical and be ready for Raiders training camp, barring surprise. Garoppolo has progressed well from offseason foot surgery, the Las Vegas quarterback report today. So you hear something like that, and usually the way that training camp works is the Raiders rookies, they reported July 20th. Today, the QBs are reporting a little bit earlier on Sunday, and then you got the remaining of the veterans are going to report on the 25th, which is Tuesday. Tomorrow is also another and very important day for the Silver and Black at training camp because veteran cornerback Marcus Peters is going to have a visit. This also tells me, man, that football is getting closer and closer to being back, which obviously puts a major smile on my face. In terms of Garoppolo, what we're going to be discussing here on today's show is we're going to look at that injury history. We're going to talk about all the rumors that started circulating way back in March when Jimmy G did not appear at his press conference with the Raiders. The news came out about his foot surgery and essentially what the contract looks like if he is unable to go by week one. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Is he going to be ready to go week one, Raiders, Broncos? That's the thing that I want to talk about. But let's first talk about just the fact that this is really good news for the Raiders. And don't get me wrong. I know there's going to be a lot of people out there like, Mitch, you didn't want the Raiders to get Jimmy G. I didn't want the Raiders to get Jimmy G because of the injury concerns. But let's not get it twisted. I want this team to win football games. Davante Adams was asked this week about the whole Josh Jacobs situation. And Adams said that if we want to win a Super Bowl, we're going to need our guy, which I don't disagree with that. But the thing that I really took out of it was Davante Adams wants to win a Super Bowl. Max Crosby wants to win a Super Bowl. And I really hope that that is the top goal of this organization this upcoming season for McDaniels, for Ziegler, because of the amount of rumors that we have heard that that's not going to be the goal for this team, that the 2023 record doesn't matter. I can't sit here and think to myself that you got human beings making millions of dollars when there's a lot of other people that make a lot less and go out there and they grind it out, that these guys making millions this season doesn't matter. So the fact that Jimmy G appears to be healthy enough to pass his physical, that is a very good sign, and that ultimately helps the Raiders achieve their goal in winning a big-time Super Bowl. So my question to everybody out there is this. Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there with the Raiders practicing on the very first day of training camp? I want you to type your Y for yes, or I want you to type your N for no. My answer coming up right here after this YouTube ad break. All right, y'all, I'm going to believe what Fowler's going to be reporting here, because if he is saying that multiple sources are saying that Garoppolo is going to pass today's physical, barring any surprise, barring any setback, I'm going to hope that that report is to be true. It has also now been confirmed by Adam Schefter that the plan is, or the expectation is, that he is going to be able to pass that physical. The reason why I'm intrigued, though, is because I was told by a source last week that there's a chance that Garoppolo gets put on the PUP list. And when I hear PUP list during the NFL regular season, it's a cause for concern. And I made a video earlier in the week about what the PUP list means for training camp, because essentially it's not that big of a deal. It's more of a big deal if you end training camp on the PUP list. So McDaniels and Ziegler, they could take it slow. Like, they could end up not trying to rush back Jimmy G. But that's what they've been doing this entire time. They haven't been rushing back Garoppolo. So when he had his foot surgery, and remember, McDaniels and Ziegler, they can say what they want about, oh, we knew the entire situation going on with Garoppolo. I'm sorry, but that's just not true, right? If that was true, the very first contract you would have given Jimmy G is the contract that he has now. Let's just call a spade a spade. And the fact that Jimmy G was offered contract A, And then he was unable to pass his physical. The fact that he was flagged down by the Raiders medical staff is why they gave him contract B. So McDaniels and Ziegler didn't know in the beginning, but now we got it figured out. So this is the good side, and we can continue to look forward, and we can go from that regard. So when you think about the fact that he had these surgeries, and the surgeries and everything that he ended up going down, he had like a medial metatarsal, confunorm. I don't remember exactly how to pronounce all these injuries, if you will, but they were essentially injuries that took at most 12 weeks. There was one that was the 6 to 12 week injury. The other was about another 8 to 12, and they were going to take it slow. When you look at the timeline from when Garoppolo had that original surgery compared to where we are at now, you're looking at 16 weeks. So the Raiders already gave Jimmy G that extra time. They already gave him the extra rest that he's going to be able to need. For my 2 cents, I get the fact that training camp might not mean a lot to some of these veterans out there. That's totally fine. But if the reports are true that you're not going to see Garoppolo or even Hoyer, I don't really give a shit about Hoyer, but you're not going to see Jimmy G out there during the preseason, I want him to be able to work with his guys to get their chemistry together and go forward. McDaniels and Ziegler might be confident that Brian Hoyer is able to execute the offense in practice, and you know what? He probably can. He probably does understand the system. But I watched last season, and I watched a team that had a lot of hype going into it, and there was a reason they started out 0-3. There was a reason that they started 2-7. It's because in the beginning games, I didn't really feel like that they were clicking. Now, sure, they might click in the first half, and the stat that I'm going to continue to throw out there when it comes to last season was the Raiders were 11-5-1 at halftime of games last season. If the games would have ended at halftime, 11-5-1. The biggest problem was the Raiders were unable to make adjustments, whether that be a Derek Carr, whether that be Josh McDaniels. It's going to fall on those two guys because those were the leaders of the team. Well, now it's Jimmy G's opportunity to step in and be the leader. And even if he can execute this offense every single time in his head, I still want to see it on the field. And maybe it's not as much for Garoppolo, but I want Devontae Adams to be confident in his quarterback. I want Jacoby Myers to be confident in his quarterback. Hunter Renfrow, Austin Hooper, Michael Mayer, hell, even the offensive line. The language that it takes to understand McDaniels' system. Multiple NFL players have discussed it. DC talked about it. It is like learning another language. So as far as I'm concerned, the more time that the Raiders get with their entire unit out there on the field, that's going to be really critical for them to be able to achieve the ultimate goal, and something Devontae Adams said this week, Super Bowl. And I know there's going to be a lot of Raider fans that chuckle when I say that. Hell, I chuckle when I say it out loud because as much as I love this team, I don't view them as a Super Bowl caliber team. But this is, nonetheless, good news, right? Garoppolo sounds like he's going to be able to pass that physical, sounds like he's going to be healthy. The next question remains is, how many games does he play this season? Which, you know what, I think is where we're going to go here with this next question. Let's pretend I'm Vegas. I will continue to set the over-under at 12.5 games for Jimmy G, considering the fact of he's never played a full 16-game season, now 17, and he's missed quite a bit of time over the past 4 seasons with a bunch of different injuries. So the question to you, Nation, is this. How many games will Jimmy Garoppolo play this upcoming season for the Las Vegas Raiders as the starting quarterback? Let me know down in the comments right now. Whatever the answer is to this, I just hope that the Raiders are prepared. Because when you sign a quarterback like Garoppolo with the injury history, you can't act like, oh my gosh, if he gets hurt during the regular season, like, oh crap, we don't have a plan B. That can't be the case. When you got a QB like Garoppolo, man, you better have your plan B, and plan C may be Aiden O'Connell. I don't want to see Brian Hoyer a single time during the regular season. When he was signed to me, he was signed merely just for practice, for somebody to go out there and execute. I don't want to know what Hoyer looks like. Hoyer's not a top 40 quarterback in the NFL. Is he an intelligent guy? Can he be a player coach during practice? Yes, that's great. But let's get one thing straight. If Jimmy G goes down during the season, it better be Aiden O'Connell. Like, if you're going to draft him in round 4, trade up to get him, that obviously shows that you got some confidence. McDaniels compared Aiden O'Connell to Tom Brady in terms of the way that he processes. And don't get, he's super accurate. And if you haven't go checked out my show about O'Connell like 2 months ago of why the Raiders could view him as the long-term option, I encourage you to go check it out. But to me, you have to be ready in case Garoppolo does end up going down. The second part of this whole show, and this is kind of where I'll get ready to wrap it up, is the contract. Because Garoppolo's contract, the way that it was structured after the surgery, it was restructured to where if he is unable to pass a physical, and if he is unable to play week 1 of the regular season, he forfeits his entire contract. Not year 1, not year 2. He forfeits his entire deal. The original structure of Jimmy G's contract was he was going to make $16.3 million in year 1, and then he was going to end up making 28.2 in year 2 and year 3. However, they could get out of the deal if it need be. With the way that Garoppolo's contract is structured now, it's more based off of the exact same numbers for all 3 seasons. So Jimmy G's cap hit this upcoming year is going to be $23.8 million, and then next year it's $24.25. The following year it's $24.25. It's easier to get out of his contract next offseason, which if he plays well, I don't really forecast them to do it, or they're just going to have him on the team working with O'Connell again. But again, they do have the option to move on from Jimmy G's contract. The thing, though, that's interesting here is if he is unable, if he is unable to play or if he is not ready to go by week 1, they can totally get out of it, which is something that I was very impressed that Dave Ziegler was able to cook up, and I just think it's also that Jimmy G's showing, hey, I am confident I'm going to be there week 1. I am confident that my body is going to be healthy enough, and I'm going to put myself in that spot to not only lead my teammates, but ultimately really try to help my team win football games this upcoming season. So the news thing that I wanted to talk about today, again, it's rolling in from Jeremy Fowler, and it was multiple sources are optimistic that quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo will pass today's physical and be ready for Raiders training camp, barring surprise. Garoppolo has progressed well from offseason foot surgery, and the Las Vegas quarterbacks report today. So quarterbacks report today. Reports sound like Jimmy G's going to pass his physical and should be out there on the field, barring surprise. I've covered this team long enough. I'm sure you've been a fan of the Raiders long enough. Barring surprise still makes me a little bit nervous. And if there is a major surprise, we'll get you guys another video later on today. I do not work today. Today is one of my off days, so that's why you don't get all the crazy graphics. But hey, if you made it this far in the video, man, you're a real one. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure those notices are turned on because I don't think it's going to be the last time you see me today. If it is the last time you see me today, well, hey, you're also going to get a Madden simulation coming up a little bit later, or I might even just push that video out tomorrow. But you're also going to get some training camp updates as well. That's all on the docket. My next 2 videos for the Raiders Report. I want you all to have a good rest of your Sunday. And always remember, if you're looking for content around the silver and black, we're your one-stop shop. I'll probably also keep you guys up to date, Twitter, IG. All right, peace out. I'll see you guys live Tuesday. Will be the next time you see me rolling in, unless there is some breaking news around Peters. And right now, if Peters does end up signing, Jugs and I are going live for at least 4 hours. So hopefully you tune in to watch that one go down because that one's going to be one hell of a show. All right, y'all, if you made it this far in the video, shout out to you. And if you're looking for more Raiders content, click that subscribe button right here. And if you're looking for even more videos because you're like, you know what? That guy's not too bad. Jugs and I have got a ton of videos over here that you can go check out. And then if you're not even quite satisfied then, you got even more videos here. If you're a diehard Raiders fan, I promise you this. If you watch this video and you watch these 2, I'm going to show you why we're the #1 Raiders channel in the world.